So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Today is October the 22nd. It's about the end of the month already. Time is definitely just zooming by, and it's going to be Halloween. After that, it'll be Thanksgiving and Christmas once again. So with that said, I hope you guys had a wonderful year overall. I'm very honored for you to listen to our podcast, whatever part of the world you're currently in. It's always humbling to know that people are paying attention to our content and are reflecting or considering our concept and ideas to help spread prosperity, equality, peace worldwide through the faceconomics platform, social media, the utilization of the social media platform in economic development. My name is Al Mina. Thank you for joining me once again. So I really didn't plan a whole lot of things to talk about today. I'm still paying attention to what's going on in Ukraine, obviously, regarding that American prisoner of war, Mr. Gonzalo Lira. He's been held captive, I believe, since August, after he had tried to flee Ukraine and basically seek asylum in a neighboring country of Ukraine. So I'm trying to process, this whole situation with NATO and our allies in Europe not wanting to intervene on Mr. Lira's behalf or on behalf of the U.S. government, since Ukraine is technically not a NATO member country. And, they have been trying to join NATO, I guess, since last year or maybe early this year. And I still find it kind of strange when an aspiring country that wants to be a part of a group, a community of, countries that have basically agreed to protect each other's interests, isn't willing to cooperate and release their prisoner of war, American prisoner of war. And obviously, their prisoner of war belongs to a country that donates the most into the pot, into the NATO pot. So it doesn't, it doesn't look good, special for us Americans to know that an aspiring member of NATO, which we support majority of our US taxes with, isn't willing to release our fellow American citizen who did absolutely nothing to deserve to be put in a Ukrainian jail in the middle of a war, when there's an ongoing war in a country. Okay, he just pretty much voiced his concern. Any single person on this planet would probably provide an opinion regarding, the overall situation in Ukraine. I mean, think about it. We now live in the year 2023. Okay, there really isn't any reason for any countries, to go into all this mess of a war. Everything can be fixed. Anything can be diplomatically, resolved. That is, if you want to solve your problem, your issues with your neighbor, you want to, talk it out, right? So there really isn't any more reason for people to, engage in a war, because after you engage in a war and you lose your assets, your buildings, your roadways, your bridges, your population. Once they're gone, they're gone. People, you can't possibly bring back people's lives. So there is really no need for war in today's world. Okay, if you need resources, material resources, whatever, economic resources, that can be done. That's not hard to accommodate. Okay, I'm in the field of economic development. I've dedicated a good portion of my life in helping build capacity in countries. Okay, it can be done. There is really no way, there's no reason for countries to engage in conflicts anymore, with other countries, right? It doesn't show any form of maturity on a country's decision makers' part in the government. It doesn't show any form of, credibility in their skill to, alleviate or reduce conflict and the risks of a conflict. Okay, if you are a decision maker of a country, okay, you want to avoid conflict at any means. Okay, there's a lot of ways to diplomatically solve issues. Okay, with that said, I'm still, baffled by the overall condition of Mr. Lear's, imprisonment, because all he did was basically talk about some of the things that he saw regarding the management skill and or lack thereof of the Zelensky's government. Okay, even other Ukrainians have voiced their concern. So other countries surrounding Ukraine have voiced their concern. European countries have voiced their concerns on how, Ukraine is being managed by their current government. So why is Mr. Lear still in jail, and why isn't anybody within the member NATO countries have raised a red flag and said, okay, wait a second, why is Mr. Lear still in jail for speaking his mind? So yeah, pretty crazy stuff. And obviously there's this issue too with Israel and Palestine. When I was in college, I did a stint of my studies in Israel, Jerusalem, and we've also managed to visit Palestine when I was studying in Israel, and I've seen the conflict. And luckily, when we were there wasn't an ongoing war, but you can tell by the overall atmosphere that there's tension, and looming conflict is pretty much in the horizon. So it's true. I mean, that was back a long time ago. That was in 1999 when I was there, and now we're in the year 2023, and they're still fighting over the same stuff. Granted, most Palestinians had the short end of the stick, for the longest time. They definitely didn't have a whole lot of resources. They hardly have, any infrastructure in their country. So I feel for them. But since I'm not the one that takes sides, when you take sides regarding a conflict between two countries, then you're making things worse. If you're a third party country, your job is to listen, from both sides. Basically understand where they're coming from and find a solution, and create that, avenue for both countries to amicably and diplomatically solve their conflict, their issues, whatever it is. That's your job as a third, country. Listen in. Any countries listen in on this conflict between Israel and Palestine, and the same goes for Ukraine and Russia. Look, I mean, very few people knows about the Russian society. Very few people knows about the Palestinian society, and yet the ones that we've heard of in the West, we tend to, gravitate towards their, narrative instead of us giving both sides the opportunity to be heard, because that's what conflicts, that's what escalates a conflict. That's what makes things worse, is when people take sides, because the sides that you're siding with would feel as if, well, I got the backing of certain people, certain strong countries, so certain, political privileges, all these stuff, and that gives it emboldens them to want to fight instead of giving them the opportunity to sort of solve a conflict by, listening to both sides and giving both sides a platform to voice their issues. Okay, that's the best way to solve, these, conflicts worldwide. It's a psychological issue. People go into war because it's a part of the psychological, cultural influences that triggers their wanting to be vindicated, them wanting to conquer, them being wanting to, resort to violence. Okay, but we're not living in the ice age anymore. We're not living in the age of discovery anymore. Maybe we're living in the social media age, the era of social media, where everybody should be able to voice their concerns and opinions freely. Okay, and if countries were to fight, give them the opportunity to, hash things out first using their social media platform. Everything can be fixed in today's reality. In today's world, anything and everything can be fixed. We have modern technology. There is a way for us to amicably fix issues diplomatically. Okay, if we open up the opportunity for both countries, Israel and Palestine, as well as Ukraine and Russia, to air out their differences publicly and let everybody learn about, their grievances. It's not going to help anyone, for us Americans or any other countries throughout the world, to take sides, because it's important that we remain neutral. It's important that we remain transparent. It's very important for us to win hearts and minds when there's, two countries that are fighting. That's how you do diplomacy. You create an opportunity for people to solve their differences. So I'm calling out NATO. I'm calling out, every countries that decided to take sides at the onset of the war between Russia and Ukraine. I'm calling out any countries that decide to take sides at the onset of this conflict with Israel and Palestine, and any other conflicts. There are tons of, there are other countries out there that are banging heads right now. They're fighting over things that could be amicably solved and equivalently easy to solve. Okay, if we give them the opportunity as the world community to, voice their differences. I'm a major advocate of peace. I'm not a pacifist. By any means, I'm not a pacifist. I understand the need for war, but in many of these cases today, in the year 2023, there really isn't any need for any form of violence, war, or any form of engagement, military engagement on this planet. Okay, you have to be creative. If you're a politician, if you're a leader, you got to be very creative in solving problems that will not escalate, in which you would have to engage in a war event. Okay, So you can tell the skill and the leadership and the mental ability of a leader by de-escalating a situation, de-escalating a potential, war conflict. Okay, that's where leaders are judged. That's how you evaluate the skill of a leader, the actual aptitude of a leader is by preventing the loss of lives, preventing the use of military weapons, and the disruption of the local market. That's when you can pretty much assess the skill of a leader. They de-escalate problems, they solve them. Okay. With that said, my background is in economic development, capacity building, institutional development, trade and commerce, financial markets, FDI, foreign direct investment. So my overall agenda is to build markets, to build, societies, increase capacity, create jobs. I'm not into, these political war conflicts, geopolitical war conflicts, because I know there really isn't a reason for a war to happen anywhere on this planet. Okay, if you look at world history, the reason people conquered other countries is because they wanted resources. They wanted, some sort of a territory. They want some sort of wealth, riches, or improve the quality of life of their citizens. All of that can be done without having to engage in a war. You don't have to conquer your neighbor. You don't have to fight your neighbor over resources. Okay, you don't have to oppress people. You don't have to engage in conflict. You don't have to destroy other people's livelihood and their spirit, their family, assets. There really isn't no need for that. War happened in the back in the days, World War I, World War II. It happened because of evil, because people wanted to conquer, people wanted to destroy, people wanted to annihilate communities, people groups. Okay, they didn't have the resources we have today. They didn't understand knowledge the way that we process knowledge today. Okay, we're not. If you want to be stuck on stupid, I think I'm going to go ahead and use that term. I learned that from one of my mentors back in Virginia. I'm from parts of the South. That if you really want to be stuck on stupid, then that's on you. All right, being stuck on stupid is nothing that you should be proud of. You should unstuck yourself from being stupid and provide a solution, create a new way of developing capacity, increasing momentum of your marketplace, putting the puzzle together and fixing, unreliable systems. All the old systems in the past definitely can be revamped and can be improved in today's reality. We actually have the tools to do that. Not just, I'm not just talking about artificial intelligence, blockchain technology, Internet of Things, social media. We actually have, the talent and the resources today to fix just about virtually every problems we've had in the past. Okay. And so there really isn't any reason for us to engage in a war conflict, loss of lives. Again, you can't fix a life when it's gone. Okay, folks, everything and anything on this planet can be fixed other than a life, a human life. So value human life as if it's air, as if it's water, as if it's your shelter. Make sure human life is your number one, your number one. What's the word I'm looking for? Metric on your success. Build people up, help build their capacity. Okay, increase their capacity, teach them, provide knowledge to them, or learn from people that are knowledgeable. The human life is the most precious life on this planet. Okay, we're all going to be on this rock for a short period of time. Why snuff it out? Why make it shorter for other people? Why put people into misery? Evil, there are evil out there. I understand that there are evil people out there, but if you let them win, then that's on you. You basically did not provide any form of solution or access to quality of life for other people. Okay, there's always going to be evil people out there. Trust me, I've dealt with all sorts of them. But at the end of the day, like I said, we're only going to be under this rock for a short period of time. We might as well help each other out, save lives, improve lives, create opportunities. If you truly want to be that person to be remembered, So, forget about all these, the past is in the past. Forget about all these, issues that so many countries and so many societies of civilizations are holding on to. There's no need for any of that. Forget about them. Move on with your life. Build your capacity. Help others. Live a productive, happy life. Okay, folks. Regardless, you don't have to put people into, all sorts of misery, hardship, and destroy them. What good is that going to do anyone? Who gains from that kind of interaction with your fellow human being? Okay. In the past, many years ago, eons ago, I can understand why people fought over resources. I understood why people fought over religion. I understand why people fight over, land and territory back then. Today, none of that matters. Seriously, I'm not trying to water down the situation with the wars going on in this world. I'm simply saying that you can test someone's ability as a leader, as an intellect, as a decision maker by how they de-escalate conflict, how they resolve conflict, how they, bring two parties that are about to hit each other's face with a bat to sit down on a table and iron out all these problems that they're having with each other. It's pride, it's ego, it's selfishness, it's individualism that creates problems, for people. We have history to reflect on, folks, and there really isn't any reason for us to engage in a war, conflict, and not even take sides. The best way for us as a world community and people of every background to do is to let Ukraine and Russia talk things out, fix their issues amicably and diplomatically, as well as Palestine and Israel and any other countries that are currently in conflict. Give them a voice, especially these social media giants. The social media giants has kind of exacerbated the situation in many of these conflicts, because instead of them giving everyone the equal opportunity to speak, they're silencing people. They're silencing influencers. They're silencing people that have genuine grievances. Why would you do that? Okay, we've never had social media in human history ever, and that's why we had all these wars, and conflicts in the past, because people didn't understand each other's culture. They misinterpreted, each other, and instead of learn from each other using some sort of social media medium, they didn't have any of those. That's why they fought and they killed each other and they destroyed each other. For what? Over assets, over material things that they couldn't take to their grave. After they die, they fought for something that they couldn't even take to their grave, Even if they had the pride, who cares about pride when you're dead? Okay, fix your issues, folks, while you're still alive. Leave this world for the next generation to be, a better place. Okay, there really isn't a need for a war in today's world. Seriously, war happened in the past due to material things. People wanted wealth. They wanted, all sorts of things that the other